Welcome back to the deep dive. Our mission is always to slice through the sources you share with us, and we'll pull out the sharpest, most surprising insights. Today, we're tackling a brand that it feels absolutely timeless, the Oreo cookie.
It really is the ultimate paradox, isn't it?
Yes.
You look at Oreo, a chocolate wafer invented way back in 1912,
Hmm.
and you think, okay, how complex can this really be?
Right. It's a cookie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the digital marketing audit we reviewed, it shows this brand acts more like a 2025 tech startup.
Yeah.
This is a fast-moving consumer good, an FMCG, that just dominates globally. We're talking over 100 countries.
Wow.
So our deep dive today is focused on one really crucial question. How does this century-old treat consistently capture the attention and the loyalty of the most digitally savvy consumers on the planet, Gen Z?
That's the crux of it, really. We are looking at the world's #1 global cookie brand, part of Mondelez. And they've sold over 500 billion units internationally. That number is just staggering.
500 billion.
And the reason we're doing this deep dive is that they are not coasting at all. Campaigns like Crosswalk Cookies and, the Twist Challenge from 2025, they just show they are constantly on the offensive in the digital space.
And they have to be. That aggressive digital-first approach is, well, it's necessary because they're walking a tightrope, a very fine one. Oreo is a mid-premium priced product that's built on indulgence, on sugar and fun.
Mm-hmm.
But the modern world is just piling on these external pressures. You've got the huge shift toward health consciousness, relentless demands for sustainability, volatile supply costs. So the tension is, can digital excellence overcome a product that is, frankly, increasingly under social scrutiny?
Let's start right there, then. Looking at how the product and the business structure itself holds up under all that pressure, the strength is undeniable in the product. Over 85 flavor varieties globally.
Yeah, that's wild.
It ranges from things like regional green tea in Asia to those limited edition pop culture tie-ins, Star Wars, Pokemon. They use flavor as a constant promotional engine.
Exactly. And their pricing is very strategic, mid-premium. It keeps that quality perception high, but, it still allows for mass appeal.
Yeah.
And that foundation is vital when you consider the massive headwinds they face globally.
You mean things like international tariffs, supply chain disruptions,
All of it.
the lingering effects of the U.S.-China trade war, Brexit? Those aren't just abstract ideas for them. They're dealing with real operational cost increases. The audit mentioned something like 10 to 15%, just to keep the lights on.
And that margin squeeze is serious. It's especially serious because they rely on such volatile raw materials, cocoa, wheat, sugar. Their prices are all over the place. And what's really key to understanding their risk is that almost 40% of Mondelez's revenue comes from emerging markets.
40%. So that means they are just hyper-exposed to currency fluctuations in the very regions they need for future growth.
Yeah.
But the truly existential pressure, like you said, is that social shift. They are marketing an indulgent treat in a world that's just increasingly focused on low-sugar, health-conscious alternatives. This is something we have to keep coming back to.
It is. It's the central conflict. But if we pivot now to the competitive landscape, this massive $129 billion biscuit market, we can start to see where their digital strategy gives them a huge buffer against all that pressure.
Okay, so let's see the position they occupy. The competitive mapping in the sources puts Oreo in the top right quadrant. That's high innovation and high engagement. What does that actually mean in, real terms?
It means they're driving the conversation. They're not just participating in it. I mean, get this. We are looking at over 2.1 billion impressions across social platforms in 2024.
2.1 billion.
But the most telling number, the one that really matters, is the engagement rate. It's 34% above the industry average.
Wait, 34% above average? That's massive. How are their competitors even trying to keep up?
Well, they just fall short on that critical combination. Take Kit Kat, for example. High innovation, sure, lots of collaborations. They're interesting, but they only have moderate engagement. Then you have Chips Ahoy, also a Mondelez brand.
Right.
They're more focused on traditional retail. So, moderate innovation, moderate engagement. Oreo figured out how to make product discovery a digital participatory event. And that's why they just dominate attention.
Which brings us perfectly to the audience that gives them that 34% lead.
Yeah.
Gen Z. How does the audit define this target segment?
It defines them as 18 to 25 years old. The true digitally native, expressive consumers. They crave authenticity, shareability. For them, a snack isn't just fuel. It's a social prop. And Oreo's entire aesthetic, lighthearted, humorous, playful, it's designed to plug directly into Gen Z's preference for participation.
Let's use the customer story we have to visualize this. Sophie Williams, a 21-year-old international student in London. So tell us how Oreo sort of flows into her daily life.
Sophie's interaction is this perfect cycle of discovery and creation. She starts by scrolling TikTok. She finds snack hacks, these short recipe videos for quick Oreo milkshakes or mug cakes. It instantly transforms the cookie from just a snack into, like, a project.
And the brand is ready for that. She doesn't just watch, right? She's invited to participate. So she makes her own short reel using the hashtag #PlayWithOreoInvite. It's such a low barrier to entry for content creation.
And Oreo gets free, user-generated advertising that feels totally authentic. And this is where the brand identity merges with her social values. Sophie uses her feed to post photos of seasonal offers, like the Pride Edition packaging. The brand is consciously integrating with her principles of diversity and inclusion. The cookie literally becomes a means of socializing and self-expression.
That seamless integration has to be the key to that crazy high engagement rate. So if the audience is Gen Z, let's look under the hood. How does Oreo actually build that connection on a technical level? Let's start with the fundamentals, their website and SEO.
Right. The website, Oreo.com, is a major investment. It ranks in the top 5 global snack brand websites, and it pulls in an estimated 15 million visits per month.
15 million?
And importantly, they didn't just build a site, they built a digital experience. It won 4 Webby Awards, including for their Oreo ID engine.
The Oreo ID engine, that's their personal recommendation tool, right? They're basically treating their website visitors like users on a complex e-commerce platform.
Exactly. They use it for personalized recommendations, and they even have a cookie configurator. This whole thing is backed up by serious SEO work. They hold first-page ranking for over 85 high-volume keywords, from Oreo cookies to, very specific seasonal searches.
Okay, now for social media, you mentioned a fascinating contrast between their platforms.
Yeah, it's a study in strategic specialization. Instagram has their highest follower count, 3.8 million.
Yeah.
But surprisingly, it had lower engagement. Instagram is their high-production branding zone. Polished recipe videos, memes, official messaging like their PF-Lag partnership. It's where they broadcast their polished image.
But TikTok is where the real explosive growth happens. Fewer followers, 2.6 million, but much higher organic engagement.
That's where you see the power of participation. The Twist Lick and Dunk campaign is the perfect case study. It generated 167 million total views and 95,000 user-created videos.
95,000 videos from users.
But think about the sheer cultural footprint of that. The sources note that in Cambodia alone, that campaign reached 78% of the country's entire TikTok population.
78% of a country's entire active digital population. With a cookie challenge, that's not marketing. That's a cultural phenomenon. And
YouTube, while having the fewest followers, is crucial for those longer-form commercials and product launch narratives. They clearly know exactly what each platform is for.
And that technical skill carries through to their paid strategies, I assume.
Absolutely. Their email marketing uses advanced systems, like Klaviyo, for precise automation and segmentation. They pay granular attention to the details, like keeping a low spam score. They use short, punchy subject lines, often with emojis, to cut through the inbox clutter and appeal directly to that Gen Z consumer.
And what about paid search? The budget there is pretty substantial, estimated at $8 to $12 million a year for Google Ads. But what struck me most was the efficiency. They must be using every trick in the book to optimize that spend.
They are. They lean heavily on Google's advanced AI-driven tools like Performance Max and Smart Bidding. But here's the mind-blowing metric. Their estimated cost per acquisition, their CPA, is only $2.15.
Wait, say that again, $2.15. I know for a fact the FMCG retail benchmark is between $4.50 and $6. That means they are effectively getting twice the efficiency for every marketing dollar they spend compared to the industry average.
Precisely. It demonstrates a genuinely sophisticated level of digital execution. But now, let's pivot and look at the biggest roadblocks ahead, because this incredible digital authority is fighting against some very real physical world constraints.
This raises a really important question. How do you translate digital dominance into... It's a major weakness.
That's the paradox the SWOT analysis reveals. Their primary strength is undeniable. Digital marketing authority. You see it in the Twist Challenge success. But their primary weakness is the health issue. A shocking 72% of Gen Z expressed concern about healthy consumption. That high sugar content directly limits their potential market, no matter how clever the TikTok campaigns are.
So their digital brilliance is just constantly trying to make up for the fact that the actual product is fighting against these huge cultural tides.
And that weakness gets amplified by serious external threats. Soaring input costs for cocoa, sugar, wheat. That's squeezing profit margins. And you have tightening sustainability legislation raising compliance costs. Things like sugar taxes, plastic bans, and the whole controversy around palm oil sourcing.
But the sources also identified some clear paths forward, some major opportunities.
Two main areas. First, geographical expansion. Go deeper into massive emerging markets like India, China, and Southeast Asia. And second, directly address the weakness. Meet that rising consumer demand for healthier snacks, reduced sugar, or plant-based options.
Which all culminates in the strategic recommendations from the audit. What is Oreo's immediate survival plan?
The plan has three main priorities. The first is product evolution. They have to create an Oreo wellness line. Lower sugar, plant-based, maybe even functional snacks. And this is crucial. They have to dedicate 20% of their paid advertising budget to promoting these new lines, using influencers who specialize in wellness and nutrition.
That is a huge budget and focus shift. It's basically acknowledging they need to target a completely different demographic than their current fun and indulgence crowd.
The second priority is all about distribution and efficiency. Accelerate direct-to-consumer, or DTC, in those emerging markets. The recommendation is to invest $15 to $20 million in building specialized social media e-commerce systems in Southeast Asia. This means localizing the language, optimizing for regional payments, and partnering heavily with local platforms like Temu and Shopee.
And finally, they have to get ahead of the greenwashing accusations by dealing with sustainability head-on.
Yes. The third recommendation is to establish a dedicated digital platform, something called Oreo Sustainability. This platform would transparently disclose their palm oil sourcing, their packaging upgrades, their emissions reduction efforts. The proposal even suggests using AI personalization to deliver this values-based info to Gen Z in a way that feels authentic and, reduces the risk of compliance failures.
So at the end of the day, what does this all mean? We've learned that Oreo is a masterclass. It's a masterclass in blending decades of powerful brand heritage with the most cutting-edge digital techniques. They're generating engagement 34% above average and buying ads at twice the efficiency of competitors. But the next decade of this brand depends entirely on how effectively and how quickly they can evolve the product itself to address the global demands for health and sustainability. The digital game is won, but the product game, that's just beginning.
Absolutely. And that leads to a final thought for you to consider. Given that massive strategic investment, that $15 to $20 million in localizing and accelerating D2C platforms in places like Southeast Asia, essentially bypassing traditional retail channels, what long-term changes might this shift cause in the fundamental relationship between a powerful global brand like Oreo and, say, the local mom-and-pop retailers who have carried their product for generations? That shift in distribution power, that's the question that could redefine the entire industry.